The world is watching. A diplomatic cable from Washington to Beijing has initiated a sweeping reset of America's China policy. This is a fundamental shift in the relationship between the two most powerful nations on Earth. The question on every leader's mind is simple. Is this the dawn of a new era of cooperation, or just the calm before an even greater storm? The White House is signaling a willingness to talk on issues like climate change and global health, while doubling down on economic pressure and military deterrence. This dual-track approach aims to keep China off balance, forcing it to negotiate from a position of uncertainty. The stakes could not be higher. A successful reset could unlock solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems. We are standing at a historic crossroads where the decisions made in the coming months will define our world for generations. Understanding this shift requires us to look beyond the daily noise of politics. Why is this happening now? What are the specific policies being rolled out? And most importantly, what does this mean for the rest of the world? We will break down the new Trump doctrine, analyze its impact on global trade, technology, and security, and explore the difficult choices facing nations everywhere. The story of the America-China reset is the story of our collective future, unfolding before our very eyes. To understand where we're going, we must first understand where we have been. The last decade has been a story of a relationship unraveling. The Obama administration's pivot to Asia was the first sign that Washington was wary of Beijing's rising power. As China's economy rose and its military expanded, the tone in Washington grew sharper. The trade war launched in 2018 marked a definitive break from the past. It was a blunt instrument, designed to punish unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. This confrontational stance continued under the Biden administration, focusing on technology with strict controls on semiconductor exports. The trade war and decoupling efforts have thrown the global economy into chaos. Companies have been forced to rethink their production strategy, moving factories to places like Vietnam, Mexico, and India. The security implications have been significant, with military competition intensifying. The issue of Taiwan has become the most perilous of all, with Beijing viewing the island as a renegade province. This delicate balance has become increasingly fragile, with many analysts warning that a miscalculation could easily spiral into a major war. What exactly is changing now in 2025? The Trump Doctrine 2.0 is a mix of aggressive pressure and surprising outreach. It is built on a belief that America's position has been strengthened by economic decoupling, giving it more leverage. The new playbook has 5 key components, creating a dizzying picture for policymakers. First, there is a renewed push for high-level diplomatic dialogue. Second, economic pressure is evolving with targeted duties on strategic sectors like electric vehicles and solar panels. Third, the U.S. stance on Taiwan is becoming clearer and more assertive. Fourth, the tech war is entering a new phase, focusing on cutting-edge technologies like AI and quantum computing. Finally, a new front is opening in global ports, countering China's Belt and Road Initiative. Together, these pillars form a coherent, if aggressive, new strategy. It is a high-risk, high-reward approach that seeks to reshape the global landscape. The strategy aims to redefine the terms of engagement with China for the foreseeable future. The reopening of high-level diplomatic channels is a startling development in U.S.-China relations. Secretary of State Susan Collins just concluded a tense series of meetings in Beijing. The administration concluded that a lack of communication is too dangerous, creating a vacuum where miscalculations can escalate. The goal is pragmatic, to build a floor under the relationship. Officials call it managed strategic competition, establishing clear red lines and reliable communication channels. This is about crisis management. However, this thaw is happening amid immense distrust. Beijing sees American outreach as a temporary tactic, while the U.S. fears China is playing for time. This creates a fragile dynamic, with every handshake scrutinized. For the world, this is both a relief and a source of anxiety. The reduced risk of war is welcome, but the spectacle of giants negotiating over others' heads is unsettling. The trade war isn't over. It's entered a more sophisticated phase. President Trump's new approach to tariffs is surgical, targeting specific industries critical for America's future. The primary targets are China's green technology sectors, electric vehicles, solar panels, and advanced batteries. This targeted approach aims to nurture domestic manufacturing and break China's dominance in the green tech supply chain. For American consumers, it means higher prices for green technologies in the short term. For China, these tariffs challenge its economic model. The tariff tightrope has accelerated the great supply chain realignment. Companies are moving manufacturing to alternative hubs like Mexico, Vietnam, and India. This shift creates a more fragmented and resilient global trading system. The era of cheap, seamless globalization is giving way to friendshoring and regional trade blocs. The economic consequences are complex and far-reaching. The strategy aims to protect America's economic and national security. It is a high-stakes gamble with global implications. Nowhere are the stakes higher than in the Taiwan Strait. The Trump administration's new policy has moved toward strategic clarity, making America's commitment to Taiwan's defense explicit. The recent approval of a multi-billion-dollar arms package is a case in point. This is part of a porcupine strategy, making Taiwan costly to invade. Beijing has reacted with increased military pressure. Each side is signaling its resolve, raising the risk of miscalculation. The Taiwan Strait is a critical shipping lane, and a conflict would halt global trade. Taiwan's semiconductor industry is vital, and a war would trigger a global economic depression. The US-China competition is increasingly fought with silicon chips and code. The Trump administration's strategy targets China's progress in AI, quantum computing, and biotechnology. The goal is to slow Beijing's development of technologies with military applications. This strategy risks creating a digital iron curtain, splitting the world into incompatible tech ecosystems. China is developing its semiconductor industry and promoting its own tech standards. Countries face pressure to choose between American and Chinese tech. This tech divide presents a challenge, slowing global scientific progress. It could create a fragmented and less secure internet. The stakes are high, with global implications for innovation and security. The America-China reset is forcing every country to reassess its position. The era of maintaining equally good ties with Washington and Beijing is ending. For America's allies, this presents a difficult balancing act. European powers like Germany and France seek strategic autonomy. In Asia, allies like Japan and Australia view China as a security threat. Many nations in the global south see an opportunity in the competition for influence. The US focus on global ports offers an alternative to China's Belt and Road loans. This competition is creating a more multipolar global order. The greatest risk is being caught in the middle. If tensions escalate, the pressure to choose a side will be immense. The economic and political fallout could be devastating. The world is navigating a complex and unpredictable landscape. We are at a pivotal moment in modern history. The new American approach to China is an attempt to rewrite the rules of the global order. Managed strategic competition is a high-stakes gamble. If successful, it could create a stable relationship between superpowers. However, the risks are immense, with potential for miscalculation. Fragmentation of the global system could unwind decades of progress. Key signposts include a potential summit between Trump and Xi. The economic front will determine the future of global supply chains. The Taiwan Strait remains the most perilous game in the world. The path forward is unwritten, with choices in Washington and Beijing determining the road humanity takes. The world holds its breath, hoping for wisdom and restraint from leaders.